Calculus is one of those classes that everyone universally sees as a hard class. This is coming from someone who graduated high school with around a 2.2 GPA. I was in remedial math in ninth grade and my first year in college. Granted, I was coming out of the military, so I hadn't seen math problems in over 4 years, but I say that to show you I'm no math genius. I'm probably dumber than most of you guys watching this video, and I was worse off starting this 30-day journey of Calculus 2 than you are now. So I was able to complete a calculus course in 30 days, and here's how I did it. First and foremost, if you're asking what course I took in college that was 30 days, there are these online assessments that count as college credits, and all you have to do is pass a test. Now, this is a lot easier said than done for most people, me being most people. It's pretty hard to teach yourself a subject in a fraction of the time, then to take a course slowly over a span of 3 to 4 months. These assessments are called CLEP exams or ACE exams, depending on what your institution or your college takes. Like I said, they allow you to basically skip over a semester of classes as long as you pass the exam. I recommend that everybody takes at least one or two or as many as they can. This just allows you to save time and money on classes that you don't really need to take. So a few things to note before starting this 30-day journey. You're going to have to commit a lot of your time to studying. I assume you expected that already, but just have to say it in case you did it. I was averaging around 6 hours a day, every day, sometimes more, sometimes a little less. I don't think that's too bad though, considering some people take it upon themselves to make that their entire college experience. Nothing wrong with that, but I'm cool with a B or even a C sometimes. Expect to struggle. If you're learning calculus for the first time, it's going to be a struggle, and that's okay, because if it wasn't, that probably means you're not actually learning. You're going to have a good reason as to why you're doing this. For me, if I didn't pass this test, I was going to have to add this to my schedule during the semester, and that's really a no-go. I'm a new father, and it's my first graduate semester, so it just wasn't possible with my schedule. And lastly, because this is a video on learning Calculus 2 in 30 days, it's kind of a given, but you are required to know Calculus 1. But with all that out of the way, let's get into it. So if your semester and classes are anything like mine, and your situation is anything like mine, where I'm going into my first graduate semester and Calculus 2 is a prereq for my graduate classes. I didn't take Calculus 2 in my bachelor, so I have to take it now. I took Calculus 1 over a year and a half ago. This means I haven't seen an integral in over a year and a half, but that's okay. If you got at least a B in your class, your brain should still have a good bit of that information in there. If you got a C, it should probably still be in there. Like, unless you guys really cheated your way through the entire semester, you should have something in there, right? Now, with 30 days, you don't have that much time to review, but that's fine. You really only need to review limits, derivatives, and trig functions. Trig functions aren't from Calculus 1, but they're very important in calculus. And when I say review, I mean breeze through everything and go straight into solving problems. You really only want to review Calc 1 stuff for about 2 to 3 days max, but you mostly want to do problems. When reviewing, you really want to single things out you don't know more than others, but don't get too hung up on the review, because a lot of the stuff you forgot or don't get to review here, you will do throughout the next 30 days or the next 27, 28 days, depending on how much time you have left after your review. Remember, math is compounding, so everything you've learned in the past math classes will be seen inside of the Calculus 2 problems. Another tidbit: when reviewing or learning or getting into the topics in Calculus 2, reading is going to be the slowest way to get everything through. I know reading is really important, but for me, I found it was a big waste of time. It just takes a lot of time to read. I'm not saying don't read text. I'm saying it's kind of the opposite. You really do want to read, but you want to kind of diversify where you're getting all your information from. So read, watch videos. It's really the only two. It's really the only two. If you want to hear an audiobook, sure. But I found that reading was the slowest. It's a lot easier to have some creator or a video teaching me how to do it, because they tend to, if you're watching a good video, they put analogies together. They are better at getting you to understand things. Reading can be very dry and bland, and it's hard to grind through it, especially when you're doing 30 days of this. Is going to be pretty tough. So still definitely read, but make sure to use multiple instructors. And if you're not understanding the topic you're going through at that point, make sure to switch instructors as soon as possible. You really don't have time to be not understanding things because of the way that you're being presented the information. So after your Calc 1 review, we now have to get into the actual Calc 2 coursework. Calc 2 has a lot of individual subjects: integration, integration techniques, polar coordinates, differential equations, series and sequences, vectors and 3D spaces, and each of these has their own subsections. I broke it up into about 7 to 9 days given to each of these topics. This definitely shifted depending on how much I was understanding the topic. And to pass a Calculus 2 final in 30 days, some topics are going to have to be ignored a bit more to understand another one better. For example, I spent a lot more time doing integrations because I did not know trig functions. So I spent a lot less time on vectors and 3D space. I checked ChatGPT beforehand and saw which subjects tend to come up more on Calc 2 finals, and that's going to be integration, differential equations, and series and sequences. Now, it's not saying, and I'm not saying that those other subjects won't appear. They definitely will, but I was okay knowing less because there would be less of those questions, if you get what I mean. Also, another tidbit, you need to know integration for a good bit of the other topics. So it's actually pretty important that you spend the appropriate amount of time learning integration. So if you need an extra day or two on that, I would. Now for actual studying, I said I studied about 6 hours a day. So this might be a little different depending on where you're taking your course, but mine was broken up into 9 different topics, and each topic had subsections or subtopics. So those subtopics had lecture videos about 10 to 20 minutes each. Now I didn't have direct practice problems pertaining to each video. My course gave me practice quizzes to take, and those had questions from all the lectures in that course. This is fine, but when doing practice problems, you want to be deliberate on what you're quizzing yourself on. So if your course is structured the same way, just go online and look for problems specifically on the volume of revolutions, for example. But don't go too specific, for example, searching for a problem using the shell method, because it's still important that you know how to spot the differences and which method or the differences between the problems. So when starting a topic in the mornings, I would watch the lectures on like 1.5 speed. I didn't do this for the first 2 weeks, and that was a big screw up on my part, but definitely a bit faster than the regular speed, unless like the guy that you're watching is just talking crazy fast. But definitely 1.5 speed. It's important to get through these fast. Most of your learning will not come from the lectures, but from doing the problems. You really shouldn't watch more than an hour of lectures before doing problems. So you're looking at an hour of lectures and then an hour of problems. And then in the afternoon, I would do another 2-hour block. Same exact thing, watch the lectures for an hour and do practice problems. And my last 2-hour block, I tried to do only practice problems. This time block is going to be at night, usually after work, so I just couldn't watch any more lectures. It's pretty hard to go through problems as well, but it's just going to have to be a grind. I recommend just putting on the lo-fi music from YouTube and setting a 45-minute timer, take a 10-minute break, and then go again. This isn't going to be pretty, but learning a subject you don't know in a short time isn't. Going to be hard. So when starting a new topic, usually it would take me 1 to 2 days to go through the lectures. So then after that, I had about 5 days to only do practice problems. That means 3 times a day and 2 hours each. Like I said before, lo-fi music, 45-minute timer in those time blocks. I say try because some days I did not want to do it, and I think 3 or 4 days out of the 30 days I didn't do any math. Some days I just had some outside obligations, but some other days I just couldn't get the book open. I just didn't want to do it, and my mind just wasn't in it. All right, it's gonna happen, but next day you're gonna have to do double the work or accept that that subject is kind of gone. Also, as you progress in completing topics, you will have to find a way to incorporate doing practice problems from the past topics into your study routine. Like I said before, the quizzes in my course had a culmination of all the questions, so that's what I would use those for. You should practice old questions at least twice a week, but I would recommend every other day. A few more things to add: in between study sessions, my feed on YouTube was filled with all either Calculus 2 videos and shorts or better ways to study videos. There is a lot of resources available, and the more you drown yourself in the subject, the more you will just think about it. The more you think about it, the more you will want to do it, and the more curious you'll be. You will have to fully submerge yourself in math for 30 days, and if you're like me, you've probably never done that before, at least not for a school subject. But it's really not that bad, and at the end of it, I kind of like math. So guys, that's it. 30 days Calculus 2. If you guys have any questions, leave those down below, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.